Hi, everybody. Glad to have everybody on here today. My name is Kyle Cecil. I'm Extension Educator with the University of Illinois. I'm going to let Ann Hines-Silvis introduce our speakers here today. So Ann, I'm going to shut my mic off and you can do some introductions and we'll jump right into it.
Thanks, Kyle. I hope you can all hear me. It's nice to be here today and to be in the second session of our three-part series that focuses on local food systems. And just to give you kind of the bigger picture, we began the session in session one talking more specifically about how local food systems can contribute to local economies. And then today we're going to have three examples of specific ways that communities are building local food systems and what that might look like. And we brought in three speakers that can actually provide you with a lot of detail. And then we'll end up with the final session, and that'll be, I think that's November 15th, when we'll talk more about policy and what's next in Illinois. So that kind of gives you the big picture of this whole series. But today we're going to focus on three people who can give you some details of very complete case studies of how local foods are being developed in three different places. And what I'll do is I'll give you a little background information and then I'll introduce the speakers as they're ready to talk. So we have Sarah Hulty-Massengale, who is currently a Community Development Specialist at the University of Missouri Extension. She works in South Central Missouri, and she's working with local food systems, youth, healthy lifestyles. But the important thing about Sarah is that she's originally from Bureau County, and she's a graduate of Knox College and the University of Illinois, and did work with local food systems here when she was doing her master's degree. So it's nice to have Sarah back. Virtually anyway. Sarah is back visiting in Illinois, but we really appreciate the fact that she has kind of both perspectives, the Illinois perspective and in the work that she's currently doing in Missouri. And then we'll follow Sarah's presentation with Keith Johnson, who's with the Woodstock Farmers Market, and talking about how that was developed and what they're doing now, what they see opportunities for development. And then our final speaker for today is Margaret Larson, and Margaret is the County Director for University of Illinois Extension, and she's up in the northern part of the state, Joe Daviess, Stevenson, and Winnebago counties. And Margaret has been working on developing food systems for quite some time and can give us more detail about what's happening there and what some of the pitfalls and potentials are for community support for local food systems. So with that kind of overview, I'm going to turn it over to Sarah, who will begin our presentation today. And I'm going to turn off my mic, Sarah, and then you can start up.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me be part of this session today. I appreciate the invitation, and it's nice to be able to reconnect with some former colleagues. All right, so I'm going to dive right in. Like Ann mentioned, I did my master's research at University of Illinois. I worked with Ann, and we did research on local food systems in communities in central Illinois to look at how we could promote local food systems as community and economic development. So there's a resource at the end of my presentation called Beyond the Farmers Market, but that was the handbook that we put together after that research that helped highlight some of the key elements that were important for successful local food system projects. And so I'm going to use some of those pieces in this presentation today because they're still pretty applicable in the work that I do here in Missouri. So the why local, why now? Could everyone see that slide? Did I flip it okay? Identifying motivations and priorities. What's been most helpful as we worked in communities here in Missouri and back in Illinois was helping the communities identify why they were interested in starting or moving forward with local food system projects. And the case studies I'm going to talk about today focus on these issues here: health, economics, and entrepreneurship. And then those are the two I'll focus on, but then there's also been some interest in the cultural aspects, working with veterans, and then youth projects. So finding those things that really engage people in local food systems has been really helpful in moving those projects forward. So this is a list of key elements that we put forward in that Beyond the Farmers Market guide. And then the pieces in red are things I would add now if we were to update the list. Catalyst farmers or citizens, and you'll see in some of these examples that having some of those people that are really the people that are willing to push forward and get things going are really helpful. And then I added nonprofits to the independent retail outlets. Having some of those either businesses or organizations that are willing to step up and help out has been really helpful in a lot of these cases. And then you can see the rest there, and I'll sort of talk about each of those pieces as we go through the different case studies. So the first case I wanted to mention was Healthy Dent County, and I work in Dent County. My office is here in Salem, which is the only incorporated city in Dent County. Dent County has about 15,000 people, and the University of Missouri Healthy Lifestyle Initiative started in 2007, and it was a project that worked with 4 pilot communities to develop collaborative groups within the communities to focus on health and well-being. And they focused on using policy and environmental change to really advocate for health within a community. So Dent County was one of the 4 pilot communities that started in 2007, and they were selected because they had the broad community support. They already had a history of working on health in the community. They'd been one of the National Rural Health Association communities that participated in a project called Community Solutions for Rural Health back in 1995. And so they were already used to working together on projects related to health. So the hospital was involved, the health department, extension, city and county leaders, a lot of the nonprofit groups. So that existing collaboration really stepped up and said, we want to work on this and help make our community healthier. And this Dent County was also selected because it's a high poverty rural community with a lot of health problems related to obesity. And the reason I'm talking about this with local food systems is that access to healthy, affordable foods was a key piece of the work that this Healthy Dent County group did in their pilot phase, and then now that they've moved on since that program. And so just a couple of statistics about Dent County. The Missouri Hunger Atlas, which talks about county-wide statistics about hunger and food security, said that 15% of Dent County residents were food insecure, 56% of students are eligible for free and reduced lunches, and 27% is the obesity rate in Dent County. So the Healthy Dent County group made several overarching goals, and one of those was to increase community access to affordable, locally produced healthy food. And they went about this goal in several different ways. They, you can see in the left-hand picture, one of the projects they worked with the school cafeterias, and there's 4 rural school districts and then 1 district in Salem. And they had some funds to increase the fresh and healthy food in the school cafeteria, so they provided apple cutters and cutting boards and other supplies that were better able to use some of that fresh fruits and vegetables. We don't have a farm to school program yet in Dent County. The problem has been the quantity. We don't have enough farmers locally that can provide enough consistent quantity for the local schools, but there is a growth in school gardens, and so slowly but surely we're getting more local food into the schools in the county. They also worked with the farmers market, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but to help market and advertise things about the farmers market, so providing recipes in the newspaper for products that were available at the market, healthy snacks and healthy ways to cook some of that food. And then they did a lot of cooking demonstrations and food demonstrations at the market and then community workshops. And you can see that the quote there about raising awareness among city officials. And the important thing, I know that part of this webinar series is about how to help engage local officials and get the policies and support that farmers and other businesses need for local food systems. And so the thing I want to focus on in these two case studies is that these projects really made sure that they tried to help engage local officials and leaders. And so you can see the quote there that it helped to show that it was made the community more attractive if we were healthy and had farmers markets and ways to get healthy food. So another piece of the Healthy Dent County project related to gardening, and so they started a Master Gardener chapter here in Dent County. They started a community garden that's still up and running, and it has 50 plots, and usually we have about 15 to 20 families that participate and grow food for themselves or for the food pantry and other places. And then we've also implemented a lot of gardens at schools and daycares, so there's been a lot of kids involved. And again, you can see the quote there from one of the agencies in Dent County that participated with one of the school gardens. So the Healthy Dent County group worked as a pilot community for 3 years, and then they became, when the initial pilot phase ended, they became a 501c3 in 2010. And since then, they've been working on projects such as childhood obesity, and they recently received a grant from the Missouri Foundation for Health to focus on schools and childhood obesity. And so they'll be having a school facilitator and a community facilitator to help improve health and health outcomes in Dent County. Another piece of it related to economic development is that they started a task force called the Healthier Dent County Task Force. And it's, again, a group of people and collaborative group that's working to think about the community and economic issues related to health with sort of the tagline that we can't be all we can be unless we're healthy. And they're using examples like that in Kansas City where the mayor focused on health and physical activity and local and food access as a way to improve the economic climate, to recruit businesses and keep families in the community. And so the Dent County Task Force here is working on similar issues. So how can the community be healthier so that it's a healthier place for businesses to locate and stay? So related to that, one of the tools that's been really helpful for our communities that have participated in the Healthy Lifestyle Initiative is this Economic Gains from Healthier Choices tool, which right now is only has Missouri County data in it, but I'm sure it's something that could be modified for Illinois. But it's a very interesting way to think about how making healthy choices can impact the community in an economic sense. And so this tool, I use the increased daily intake of fruits and vegetables to 5, which is the recommended fruits and vegetable servings by 5%. So Dent County has about 15,000 people. 5% is about 780. So if in 2014, 780 Dent County residents chose to start eating 5 fruits and vegetables daily to improve their health, this is the number of the cumulative value of a longer life. So it's a cost avoidance model, and so this is the amount of money that would be saved in the community by not having to pay for drugs or medical advances later on in life to try and extend a life. So this is the money that they're saving by eating healthier. And so it's a really interesting way for a community to think about how can we help make our residents healthier. And then by default, increasing fruits and vegetables, there's a perfect opportunity to help also increase the amount of locally grown food in our community. If people are eating more fruits and vegetables, why not have it be products that are produced right in the local community? So this tool, again, has been one of those things that's helped the Healthy Dent County group engage local officials because they see this number piece and see it as a business development opportunity and also a way that there's more money circulating in the community. So the second case study I wanted to mention is the Salem Farmers Market. And again, this is in Dent County too. Salem is the county seat. And this market's been in existence since 2003. And it's managed by the Salem Area Community Betterment Association, which is a 501c3 group that works on community beautification and other community projects. The market has usually 6 to 8 regular vendors and another 6 to 10 that are seasonal The products have to be grown in Dent County or the counties surrounding. The motivations for the market are to support the small farms in the community as a business development strategy. And then the Salem Community Betterment and other organizations have helped work with farmers as they've developed business plans to expand their operations or diversify their markets. One farmer last year wrote a CSA business plan, and then they're also benefiting from shared marketing through things like the newspaper ads and a Facebook page and blog. The farmers are able to collaborate and use some of that cooperative marketing to help with their advertisements as they start their small business. The other reason that the Community Betterment Association is excited about the market and willing to support it is that it is a venue for community events. There's special cookouts and big celebrations there often. They do a lot of 5K runs that start at the market and then end there. The food demonstrations that I mentioned earlier. It's also a tourism venue for the community. Salem's right sort of on the way to the Ozark National Scenic Riverways, which is a national park here, and then Montauk State Park is a well-known place for trout fishing, and so we get a lot of tourists that come through the community, and the market here is right on the main highway that tourists come through. So it's been a good way to help generate some extra tourism revenue in the community and provide a reason for people to come and stay in Salem. It's also been a benefit for youth entrepreneurship. The market's really always excited about supporting kids that want to sell their garden produce, and they've supported some of the young farmers that are getting started. The broad community support, which is again one of those key elements of successful projects, there's a lot of community partners that make this farmers market successful. The Healthy Dent County group that I mentioned earlier is involved. There's a lot of businesses who've donated products and things to help the market. For example, with the cooking demonstrations, we have a company here that makes portable sinks, and so they donated a sink for the food safety piece of those food demonstrations. Master gardeners often have a booth there with information about gardening and food preservation, and Chamber of Commerce thinks it's important, and we always have ribbon cutting every year that city and county officials attend. So that broad community support has been really helpful, particularly as the market has expanded. And so it's always exciting to see markets grow, and that means there's a lot of new vendors and farmers that are looking for places to sell local food. And so the market in 2011 applied to USDA Rural Development for a couple of grants to improve the facility. The existing market shelter had space for 12 vendors, but that wasn't enough, and there was often vendors sort of outside with tables outside the shelter. And so the market group decided that it was worthwhile to see if they could find a way to expand. So they applied to the Rural Business Enterprise Grant Program and received $27,000 to expand the market shelter. So it added 6 new vendor stalls. So there's 18 spaces for vendors. It has electric and lights under there, so it's a really good place for our vendors. They also applied in Salem Community Betterment. It's the organization that sponsored these grants. Community Facilities Grant from Rural Development for a parking lot. It had originally been just a gravel lot, and so there was always problems with parking when the market was busy. So this parking lot paving grant allowed the market to pave the lot and stripe it, which has really helped a lot with the flow of traffic and sort of giving the right places to park so it was a much more efficient flow. For these grants to be successful, it required a lot of in-kind and matching support, which was provided by a whole range of people in the community, people and organizations. The Dent County Commission provided $4,000 in rock for the parking lot. City of Salem, you can see, had labor for the parking lot work. They did the striping and some of the other work. Community Betterment Association put in some of its own money to help support some of the expansion in the parking lot. And then we worked with MS&T, which is a university in RAWLEIGH, which is about a half an hour from Salem. They have an engineering class that does community service projects every year as part of their training, and so they did the initial design of the expansion and parking lot for the community at no cost, so that the group had a design to work with as they got started. So as we talk about engaging local officials, what was really exciting about this Salem Farmers Market project was that it was really something that USDA was proud of, and it showed that they'd actually provided the funding for the initial shelter when it was built back in 2004, I believe. So they saw it as a success story because the market had expanded so much. So they had a chance to come down and tour the shelter and visit with some of the vendors. And the YouTube video is just a video that the USDA folks put together where they interviewed the farmers that sell at the market, some of the community people that help with the market, and then also Sharon Tubbs there was, she just retired, but she was the Economic Development Director for the City of Salem. And so there's a really nice quote from her in that video about why the city supports the farmers market and sees it as an opportunity for business development. So this, the market in terms of engaging a wide variety of people and local officials has really been a great thing for Salem and local farmers. So the farmers market, some future plans and things that are going on, a lot of social media and signage updates. There's a research project from University of Missouri that's working on understanding how farmers and consumers connect and what are some of those things that they need to help build better relationships between farmers and the people that are buying food from them. This is a project between Missouri and Nebraska. So there's they've done some producer surveys, consumer focus groups, and I think there'll be some really interesting results out of that will help the markets in Salem and in communities in Missouri or elsewhere think about rural farmers markets. And then there's some new grant projects happening in Dent County. The Innovation Fund is a collaborative of foundations in Missouri that are working together to share resources and help with communities. And so they have a new project called Promoting Health and Equity Through Healthy Food Access. And they've provided Salem and Dent County with $8,000 next year to think about how to better promote healthy food. And so what the group in Dent County is interested in doing is how to better promote local food, and so supporting the farmers market. And one of those pieces is providing EBT access at the farmers market. They don't currently take EBT or WIC coupons, and that's something that's been of big interest so that lower income people in the community can also access the healthy food at the farmers market. So just a couple other reasons or motivations that people in Missouri are getting excited about local food. The cultural aspects of food. There's some traditions and heritage in the Ozarks, which is the region here in Missouri where I work, related to self-sufficiency and gardening and growing your own food. And there's been some interest in how that intersects with public land management, so with the national park and some of the other state and federal land here in the Ozarks. How can conservation and agriculture work together to promote better access to healthy food and promote conservation at the same time? And then another project that University of Missouri has worked on is the regional cuisines, which is based on the French labels of indication and geographic indications. So, for example, like Bordeaux wine. But they're developing regional areas in Missouri that promote a taste of place. So what products are unique to certain regions in Missouri? And the best example is the Mississippi River Hills Association, which is down in the St. Genevieve area. And there's a website listed later, but that's really helped to engage people in supporting the culture and sort of traditional products that were grown or raised in areas of Missouri. And then another piece that's kind of growing, and I know there's been examples in other states too, but working with veterans in Fort Leonard Wood, which is about an hour and a half from here. It's a military base that works a lot with returning veterans, and so helping them think about ways to start new businesses. They're doing garden therapy, and so how can new veterans or new farmers in the region support local food production for the communities, but also on base? And so there's an opportunity there to help grow farmers that are selling to local markets with that institutional purchaser. And then another piece I didn't put on there was just youth projects, and that's always something that's of interest is school gardens, farm-to-school programs, and then 4-H and youth entrepreneurship. So again, thinking about ways to engage the community in getting local foods growing has been a really successful way to target different projects and communities. I'm probably using up too much time here, so I just want to, we're working on a new project too called Scaling Up Local Food Systems, and that was based out of the University of Wisconsin. And it's just a new way to think about the market arrangements of local food and how consumers and farmers interact. And so there'll be some new pieces from Missouri coming from that. And then just a couple of resources that have been really helpful in our work working with communities and local leaders. Some policy guides, the Beyond the Farmers Market tool I mentioned, and then Healthy Lifestyle Initiative, Regional Cuisines, and the Rural Development Programs that I mentioned. So thank you for having me here today, and if there's any questions, I hope I didn't take too much time.
Sarah, thanks. It's every time we check in with you, you've got something new and exciting to talk about the work that you're doing in Missouri that we're very interested in hearing about because of all the potential we have here too. So I think the thing to do is to go through our three presenters, and then if we have questions, reserve some time at the end for questions. So if you can stay till the end, then if people have questions specifically for you, we can catch up with that. Okay, so now let's turn to Keith Johnson. As I said, Keith is at the Woodstock Farmers Market in the northern part of Illinois, and he's going to give us some insight about how that market was developed and how it's working. Keith?
Okay, hope I got it right here. I guess quick talk. I don't see anything up there as far as my PowerPoint, but that'll probably come up in a bit. I'm glad to hear Sarah talking about community partnerships because that's sort of where we started with community partnerships. And we were originally ran by the Woodstock Farmers Market was originally ran by the Chamber of Commerce. And by the way, I've been with the market 22 years, so I've seen a lot of changes. But we originally were a Chamber of Commerce function, and the farmers eventually decided they wanted to have a little more voice in their community and how the market was ran. So we organized and formed a corporation. So we have a lot of people who have helped us out. Those who will help you most, and like Sarah said, you need to have a lot of friends in the community. I always tell people I think the most important thing about a farmer's market is the vendors. You can have publicity, you can have community support, you can have all the things that you think might make a good farmer's market, but the first thing you need is good vendors. And that's, I'm the market manager at our market, and I really work very hard at that part of our business because that's why people are going to come back. They're getting a quality product, and they won't come back if you don't have good vendors. Customers, of course, you need to have customers, and we're lucky in our community we have a lot of support. As Sarah said, city officials, we work with everybody from the mayor to the director of the opera house to the city management, city workers. All those people help us. The health departments, many markets have an adversary relationship with health departments. We work very hard at doing the opposite in our market. We have cultivated their support, and they now allow us to have sampling at our market and things like that. But I have a very close relationship with the local health department, and they're strict, but we feel that's the way to go. Newspaper, magazines, and publicity outlets. We have some people that we work with in the community. Basically, our market is going mostly for social media right now. We just feel that's been the most productive for us. The mayor walks through our market just about every couple of weeks. Thanks us for being there. The city manager, his office is open to us. The rec department, public works is a good one. They help us a lot with electricity. Chamber, all those people are very important to our market. Other businesses in the area that we work with the local farm bureau, and it's sort of a natural fit. You know, we're mostly farmers, and they, in fact, we have our winter market at the farm bureau. They open their building to us. They give us a lot of support. If questions, farmers may be interested in starting to be a vendor, you know, they'll send us references. Banks, the banks have supported us. We have a program in our market where we do accept WIC coupons, and we have the EBT. We have a bank who's given us support in that area. Restaurants, of course, will always be a natural fit because of the use of the food. Music and arts associations is one that people overlook many times, but we have music at our market, every market, and that's a natural fit for a farmer's market because they have contacts in the area that will supply musicians for your market, and the music is always good at a market. Health department, I've already talked about that. You need to be in contact with them. Any questions, we even work with the federal people, like for eggs. The federal inspectors will help us out in issues. So all levels of the health department. Notice I put social media, social media, social media. I repeat myself, but that for us, we've been a market. Our market's been going over 30 years. I've been involved with the market for 22 years. We've tried all kinds of publicity, and to me, social media is by far the most successful. Facebook, we've got like 30, I think it's 3,500 people on our Facebook page now, and we actually hired someone to just do social media for us. And basically, they do a few newspaper ads and make some signs for us and things like that, but basically it's social media. And some of the others I listed there, you're all familiar with those. I won't bore you with that, but some other options. We find that it's important to have someone who's able to go out to the community and speak at different events or have a booth at different events. It just is a community outreach thing that really you'll pick up customers, you'll pick up friends, and it's just a good thing to have. Someone at your market who's willing to go out and speak to the community. We have a display that we keep up, a fold-out thing that we take to all of these events, and we bring vendors in too, and vendors will speak occasionally. I've just got a few pictures here at the end. I wanted to run through them quickly. This is we're lucky enough to be on the Woodstock Square, around the square, and I guess that's location is really important for a market. You need to have a place where your vendors can feel comfortable. The market needs to be well ran so people aren't fighting over spaces, but when they get to their space, they should have plenty of room. There has to be space for the customers to park. It has to be a visible location, and we worked pretty hard to get where we are, and we're pretty pleased with ours. We also are able to use the inside of this park for some of our vendors, but our farmers are around the outside. And in the background, there's the historic Woodstock Opera House, which is an attraction for our market too. This is the center of the square, and we utilize grassy spaces there. This particular farmer right in the center is a vegetable grower, but usually we have the non-vegetable growers in the middle and save the outside spaces for the farmers. This is our board meeting. We're organized a little different than some markets in that we are a corporation. We have a board of directors, 5 people. They must be farmers to participate in the board meetings. And so all the people sitting there were all members of our board. Another board meeting. We do have an information tent, and we do accept Link. SNAP, there's a lot of different names for that, but basically it's electronic benefits for people on food stamps. We accept WIC. We found that we instituted a Link program in our market. We got some help from a government grant, but basically we started out with, I don't know, maybe $8,000–10,000 worth of sales through our information booth by electronic benefits transfer. This year we're going to hit $120,000 in electronic benefits transfer, and a lot of it's credit cards, but you also all the food stamps can go through there. So it's a real boost for the market. The problem with it is you need to have someone there who can be at that booth and be accepting the credit cards and the links and everything. That's the hard part of it, but it's really of benefit for your farmers. Every bit of that money that's accepted goes right back to the farmers. This is some of the music we have. We were lucky enough to have a bandstand in the center of our market in the park, and we have music at every single market. There are a few occasions over the year, maybe half a dozen, where that will get rained out or whatever, but we find that sets a mood, and we're finding that, especially at our Saturday market, more people come through as sort of an event type of thing, not just to buy the food. We're open on Tuesdays and Saturdays from 8 to 1, and on Tuesdays we get more shoppers. They're coming to buy a product. They'll walk around, pick up their product, maybe leave. But on Saturday, the music is especially important because it sets an atmosphere, it sets a mood, and people really will stay a little longer, linger. This is one of our plant vendors at Woodstock. We try to leave ample room for our vendors. This particular vendor is able to bring their things in on a trailer. Some good crowds. That's what every market manager likes to see, is good crowds. This is one of our vegetable growers at our market, and you can see the uniqueness of his display. More music. Kids activities. It's always good to have kids activities. Anytime you can have something that involves kids or animals, you're going to get people interested in it. We try different ways to attract people, demonstrations and things. And if you can involve a child with it or an animal with it, you'll attract more people. This is one of the things I really like to see, is a lot of people, and I like to see it busy. It looks a little crowded in there, and it is, but that's a good thing. More music. This is one of our vendors, Troy Edmonds from Marengo, with a big smile. He's wearing a little button there. It says, "Support our winter market." Don't ask me about the winter market, which is a little advertising campaign we did to get people interested in our winter market. But this is some of the poor days, and weather will always affect your market. Always. I don't think it ever does not affect your market. And this was a cold spring rainy day, and 3 of our vendors. The cold fall day, Rich Brooks from Harvard, wrapped up in a comforter, trying to keep warm. But we are open, rain, shine, hail, snow, it doesn't matter, we're there, because we want our customers to know that if it's a cloud in the sky or it looks a little threatening, we'll still be there. We don't want people not coming to our market because of the weather. So we are always there. And I've been there 22 years. We have never closed for a weather-related event. If the police came by and said there was danger to our people, we would close. Never happened. Another booth, a flower booth with a lot of people. We have eggs in our market. We have meats in our market. We have cheeses in our market. We have blueberries in our market. And all those things add diversity and bring customers. And so many vendors will say, well, if you have too much of this, you have too much of that. But really, what you need is customers. And what's going to attract customers are a lot of variety and choice. And those are marketing things that vendors are not always happy with. But you need to hold your ground, and you need to bring in diversity. More plants, apples, and I think that's it. Well, on the winter market, I got a couple pictures of the winter market. Here's, like I say, we're in the Farm Bureau. It's a space, maybe 30 by 100. We put 20 vendors in there. In the winter, of course, we have our cheeses and our meats. We have a few vegetables. The root crops go into the fall, and sometimes even pretty much through the winter. And we always are having people trying new experiments with high tunnels, with greenhouses, ways to extend the season. And that's a good thing, too, because it spreads their income over the year. We also have music at our winter market, as you can see. So that's my contact information, and I think I probably left enough room for Margaret, so I think I'll stop here.
Thanks, Keith. It's great to get that look at what's going on in the Woodstock market. Margaret Larson is our Extension Director for the counties in the northern part of the state, Joe Davies, Stevenson, and Winnebago counties. Margaret, I'm going to turn off my mic and let you talk.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ann, and it was great to hear from both Keith and Sarah. I'm going to talk about a very specific project that Extension has been involved with in Northern Illinois. Freeport Food Enterprise Center all working names for this project and the center that we hope will soon be up and running. This is part of the current work that I've been doing, and it's, I think, an example of where a city has recognized that local food efforts can really contribute to the economic bottom line in both the city and the region. So I have to tip my hat to the city of Freeport, and they're embracing this effort. Freeport is a city with a population of about 25,000. We're towards the northwest end of the state. We're about 22 miles south of the Wisconsin border. We're in Stevenson County, a population of about 48,000. And so I'm going to give a little background. I'm using this visual because the efforts of the city of Freeport to clean up what's called the RAWLEIGH complex, which was an abandoned RAWLEIGH factory, a complex that sat empty or has sat empty for about 35 years. A lot of brownfield site cleanup work and grants, HUD grants, and part of this effort led the city to kind of connect with me and the efforts that Extension was leading many years ago in terms of focusing on the local food system and encouraging people to support our local specialty crop growers and farmers markets. So that's kind of how we all got tied in, although at our current juncture, this site is not part of the plan for this center. So a little background on Local Foods Initiative in Northwest Illinois. Extension's been very active in this area since about 2005, and I have to be honest that as county director, I was approached by a volunteer in 2005 who said, you know, there's a lot of potential for this area to support small growers, and Extension should be doing something in that area. And so I explored it and actually talked to some other people in Extension, namely down in Adams County, and learned about some ideas that we could take and run with. One of the things we did is worked with the local Farm Bureau, local Downtown Development Foundation, our local Audubon Society that had a Sustainable Ag Committee, and we formed a task force to try and support the local food system and educate the consumers as well as support growers. This task force started a local-only farmers market back in 2005, and U of I Extension in this area became more active in looking for opportunities to train and provide education for growers of specialty crops. In 2008, the Governor's Local Food Farms and Jobs effort was underway, and we hosted a listening session here in Freeport and heard from you know, a very interesting group of about 25 people that really ranged from Farm Bureau members to just citizens interested in seeing more local food available in the area. So highlighting here, this is a farmer's market that's actually here at Highland Community College where my office is located in Freeport. And this is a grower from Joe Davis County who sells at a number of our local markets. So one of the things that Extension has done over the years is provide information and training and assistance. We've been involved in 5 farmers market startups in the region, and actually 3 of them are still going strong. The bottom picture here is an educational session at the community garden that we helped community members start in 2006 in Freeport. Again, really aimed at promoting access to fresh fruit and vegetables, and in some cases to areas with kind of a food desert, which this community garden is in. And so the Freeport Food Enterprise Center is really an opportunity where we forged a partnership with the city of Freeport. And the principal people involved in it, I represent Extension. The Community Development Director for the City of Freeport, Shelley Griswold, is our our Freeport lead. And then Freeport has a contract with a planning firm in Madison, Vanderwall and Associates, and Colleen Johnson from that organization has been very active and just provided a lot of the formatting and detail for Shelley and me, who aren't as focused on those things. But basically, Vanderwall, I would say, has a lot of experiences and a lot to offer any communities that may be able to afford a consultant like that. They've worked all over the Midwest. So we forged this partnership in applying for and then ultimately receiving a Rural Business Opportunity Grant that was awarded in 2008. And so obviously there, through our work plan and the financial arrangement, the city really stepped up to take a very active role in supporting the local food system. So I want to talk a little bit about what we did as part of the work plan on this grant, and I want to mention these materials are on the website of my unit. So if you Google University of Illinois Extension and go to the Northwest Illinois counties, there's a tab at the top right called Food Enterprise Center, and these documents are there if you would like to see them. But our part of this was to do a market analysis, and I was blessed to have some wonderful extension educators from the region who worked on this, as well as my local staff. And basically, the elements of this were we did a producer survey, which was mailed out as well as made available on SurveyMonkey. We had about 250 responses to this. We did a producers focus group, so we had a group of about 23 producers spending quite a few hours discussing the elements of their needs. We did a consumer survey, which was, again, both kind of a face-to-face at several large events in the area and then made available through SurveyMonkey. We also had a community stakeholder focus group where we brought in some people from the Farm Bureau, the Visitors Center, and Chamber of Commerce to talk to them about the idea of putting together a local food business incubator. We did a retailer and restaurateur focus group as well. And then we also had access to information from a survey that had been done by our downtown development group. So we found some interest, obviously. We knew we would find that. And when we asked people, the producers, if they would be interested in being part of a food incubator, 60% indicated yes. We kind of asked them to comment, for example, on how often they would use a commercial kitchen, and got, we were able to gauge kind of the interest in that from that as well. And looking at what our growers at the time, and this was in 2010, were mostly concentrating on, you can see that there's quite a variety, although most of them, largely vegetables. And then we wanted to find out about their interest in kind of the winter market, as both Keith and Sarah have indicated, is a great thing. So we got kind of a baseline of what people would be interested in producing to sell at those types of markets. We looked at and wanted to look at what people thought in terms of their marketing and their promotional methods. So we checked that out, and Keith, as you can see, very different in 2010 here in the northwest part of the state. Word of mouth ruled it, and social networks at the time were not very important to them. I think that has changed now. I'm pretty sure it has. And then we also went to some of the consumers to find out, how important locally grown was to them, and found that, there was an awareness of it and an interest in it, and that people were very willing to be purchasing locally grown value-added products if they were to become aware or available on a large scale. We used, as I mentioned, some information from the Freeport Downtown Development's market survey, and this had nothing to do with local foods or our project, but it did show that we had a great number of people who were shopping downtown Freeport fairly regularly, and that was a good sign for both them and us. So as we looked at the needs for what we started out years ago calling a local foods business incubator or a food enterprise center, tried to zero in through work on this grant in terms of what it should address based on our feedback and our knowledge of the community and the potential users. And so we know that expanded marketing opportunities are very important, and those can be on a couple of levels. You know, our one of the things that we've always talked about is a local foods market, or you know, something that's open all the time, like a grocery store that highlights our locally produced foods. We know that we need to continue to educate and cultivate our local consumers, and we have continued to do that over the years through farm tours, local foods dinners, and just having extension staff and volunteers and farmers involved in various groups talking about it. And then also, we know that the services of any center need to be affordable and accessible. And so always looking for operating models which would make it feasible for that very small, very beginning producer to ramp up their services with some subsidies. And then obviously supporting expanded local production, and Extension has worked very hard to reach out to producers, identify them, and figure out exactly what it is they need to ramp up their production. The business plan for the Food Enterprise Center was done by Vanderwall and Associates, and the summary of that is also on our website. But you know, part of the neat thing of working with a planning firm is they do great graphics. So you can see where Freeport is here, and just the accessibility to Chicago, Rockford, the Dubuque area, down into the Quad Cities. And we're also part of that driftless area, which is an area of Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, and just this corner of Illinois where the glacier didn't flatten everything out. So we have this topography that really lends itself to smaller scale farming. And you've heard of Viroqua, Wisconsin, I'm sure. We're connected with a lot of the efforts that are going on up there. So looking at the mission, the Food Enterprise Center would support the regional food entrepreneurs as a strategy for sustainably growing the local economy and food system. And this is very important when we go to the mayor, the aldermen, you know, local community leaders, to, again, as we've talked about today, to make them understand that if we can provide an opportunity for our local growers to add value and have products they can sell year-round, sell to institutions, restaurants, or whatever, we're really hitting the mark there. We also identified that this is not a Freeport project or even a county project, that we're really looking to serve a regional role, and in our location, a tri-state role with southwest Wisconsin and eastern Iowa as well. I think we already looked at that, the food shed. The $10 billion annual unmet demand for local foods in Illinois, you know, we're looking at Illinois. We're probably not as logically partnered with the rest of Illinois as we are with eastern Iowa and southern Wisconsin. So if we can look at this area here, you see that there's a lot of potential here. And again, the benefit of partnering with a large firm in Madison gives us that information. So some of the goals of the project are, again, to bolster the development of our local food system and the opportunities for our local producers. And this is Bill at the Lena Farmers Market last year, one of our orchard people. But also, as I look at the goals, creating a system with increased outlets for our specialty crop producers, feed into the institutional use of local foods, which includes our schools. And in fact, next Saturday we're hosting a Farm to School Summit here on the campus, hosted by Extension. Our institutions are healthcare institutions, and in our area we have a number of retirement facilities. Certainly, if we could make connections there, it would really grow the market incredibly. Looking at the regional food cluster, and again, this is our big, broader look at it, which looks familiar to many of you, looking at our part in this whole worldwide food chain. And then food security and access. Downtown Freeport, Illinois is a food desert. There is no grocery store. There are a few stores that sell cigarettes and pop and beer and chips, but we have no fresh produce, fresh fruit and vegetables available. So really looking for this project to move forward and have a market established to some type of a store as part of it. Supporting healthy eating, we've heard this from Sarah, just making the produce, the vegetables, fruit, everything that's grown locally available through more channels and throughout the entire year, not just in season. We're working with a lot of people on season extension, and I think that kind of leads into this as well. Talent retention and attraction, one of the goals of this broader project is to increase what Colleen calls the cool factor in Freeport. We may be really lacking the cool factor, but to have a center that becomes a hub of activity related to food, to create a spirit of entrepreneurship in the area, attract foodies, give our young individuals who may come from an agricultural background a reason to come back and create some opportunities there. We also have some activity in the world of microbrewing locally, and so we see a lot of opportunities for collaboration with these breweries that are starting up. Just this week, our local foods educator, Grant McCarty, ran a program on growing hops, and we had 27 people show up to learn more about that and start collaborating with him and learning more about hops and brewing. I'm going to step it up a little bit, and you can message me if you need to, Kyle. But I think I've alluded to the phases that we're looking at here, going over a little bit of what we learned from our survey in terms of support services needed, labeling, packaging, warehousing, and storage. And we've learned a great deal about the need for storage. And so as we are moving forward on this, that's something that we realize is actually a revenue stream. And then looking at the food incubator and the potential for expanded services, we have looked at the co-packing model, where a producer or someone who wants to create a food product would contract with the center to produce their salsa or their spaghetti sauce or what have you. And we've visited with a couple people who are experts in that. We know that business mentoring is very important. And that, you know, moving down the list here, kind of the regional brand development, business expansion, organic processing, these are all things that have been talked about by people involved. Again, moving back to our initial work with the city on this project for this huge RAWLEIGH building, you know, we did immediately think of a public market and what a great collaboration that would be between the city, local growers, and food processors as well. So that's still on the burner there. Future opportunities, like everyone else, looking at urban garden collaborations, food hubs, again, the Food Innovation Center, the co-packing model as well. Financial plan, I'm going to skip over that, but I am going to skip through because I'm looking at the time. So I'm going to talk about what we're doing right now. We currently have a USDA Farmers Market Promotion Program grant, which is being used for continuing the planning. So we are developing the organization and have recruited partners and engaged the community through an advisory board. We are you know, looking at all sorts of people being involved. We have talked extensively with our local career tech, the vocational education unit in this area, who's very interested in collaborating with us because they have a brand new culinary arts program. So we have some neat synergy happening there. We're working on developing operating procedures and documents. One of the things we are doing is yet another survey, because we realized in the previous surveying of potential users, we really went only to growers, and we are realizing that we have a lot of potential food entrepreneurs here in the area who are not farmers but are interested in developing food products. I did not put up a contact slide, I'm sorry, but you can reach me through the University of Illinois Extension website, and be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Margaret, and thanks also to Sarah and to Keith, because I think the story we heard today went from kind of objectives and a look at improving health in Missouri and what they're doing now to very specific strategies for economic development in Woodstock, and now kind of a more community incubators example from your area, Margaret. So it's really exciting to see all the different ways we look at this issue in ways that we as community members can contribute to it, and as communities we can benefit from it too. What I mentioned earlier is that the last session of this three-part session is a look back, or well, actually a look ahead. Considering everything we've talked about in the first two sessions, we're going to talk about what are the next steps for communities to support and develop food systems, and what issues are those that we need to deal with in Illinois, including channels of distribution and regulation and how communities have addressed those issues, etc. So I think it'll be a pretty nice nuts and bolts look at what's really happening and how communities can plan for increased activity in their local food systems. I want to thank again the three of you. It was really a great comprehensive view of what's happening, exciting and also challenging. So we'll sign off until next time, November 15th.
Thank you, Ann.
Thanks, everybody.